Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I am so glad to be here with you today. Hey, Michelle. Hi, Philippa. Hope you guys are having a good day. Philippa, I imagine you're still sitting there with your morning coffee or tea. Hi, Sue. How's it going over in your neck of the woods? We have got the guys here putting in the last of the two windows today. So I do have background music. If it gets too noisy, just somebody say something in the chat and I will flip my camera or my microphone off and go to the background music. But let me show you what I'm doing today. You've seen this one before, but I am approaching the finish line. I just have, I guess, like a foot of beading left to do on that. So I will be glad to get this one done and get the backing on it. I can show you a couple of other things though. This is a piece that I'm going to drop off at the Art League after the live stream, well, after my workout and then after the live stream. So this is the latest Wildscape. This one is called Rooted Whispers. Michelle says, feeling good today. My son just left. He was visiting on his lunch. Oh, how nice. I wish my son was close enough to visit on his lunch. And then this isn't done yet, but this is the last of the pieces in the Unearthed collection. So I've got to sculpt it a little bit more, but I'm happy to have reached the finish line on this one. And I've got a lot of ideas on how to make these going forward, but I know I'm not going to be able to get more done before Open Studios. Will they have it on display for a time, or what is the purpose of taking it to the Art League? So the Art League is offering a preview show that opens, I think, next week, like a week before Open Studios, and it runs through Open Studios. And we get to take our postcards down that announce where our studio is and our hours and days and all that good stuff, a little bit of promo material. And they will, they're options to sell, of course, there. They take their cut. It's 30% since I'm a member there. So it's just an opportunity because many more people will go through there to see one piece of art from every studio rather than trying to run all over the county to visit all the different studios. And so they can pick and choose and say, okay, I'm interested in fiber art. I want to go see some more. So my hope is, just some more exposure. Philippa says, love the texture. Thank you. Carol said, these would look beautiful as a ball on a tree. Yeah, if I did smaller ones of these. And so that's the idea. I want to do some really like little handheld ones. And I might be able to work on them after I get everything else done. Is the yellow a snippet roll? No, I'm not going to cut it apart. This is that really, really long one I've been working on. I think it's about 4 feet long. So you would have to have the right place to hang it. I've got a cute little place in the studio to hang it. If it doesn't sell, I'm fine with that. And Carol, you had a birthday recently, so happy belated birthday. Yeah, it's good exposure, Sue, for me, because this is all new, right? I've never done any of this kind of outreach into the community, so it will be good for me to see what people think and how they respond to my work. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to display the wildscapes when you come in the door. My great big one, Gaia, I'm going to move into that room, so it'll be the first thing you see when you come in. But trying to figure out how to hang the other pieces is going to be hard. Hey, Joanne. Happy to see you here today. Senior now at 65. Welcome to Seniorville. That's 67 over here. So let's see. Got to remember what I was doing. I at least remembered to keep the beads aside. Okay, small beads, just kind of random, and a big bead where I had any of the sorry stuff. Hey, Phyllis. Glad to see you feeling good enough to be here today. She said, happy Wednesday. Just want to thank everyone for your kind words last week. As a new person to the group, it means a lot to me. We are so glad to have you part of our group. Michelle said, Terry's small moss-looking creations were cute. Yes, she shared those. She didn't make those. Somebody else made those. She shared them for inspiration, and I thought they were fabulous. And again, it really reminded me, I really want to have some time to make some small ones. I also have some small wildscape pieces that I want to do and mount them on some rocks and some wood. And I'm hoping I'll get the chance to do some of that. Since I have 2 weekends, I figure right now it's just 900 miles an hour just to get everything done for the opening. And then because I can't sit still in the evenings, when we're watching TV and stuff, I can work on maybe some of the small stuff then for the second one. No, Terry didn't make them. She, we like to share things that inspire us. And if you look at it, it's got the artist's name at the top of the post. They're very, very cute. If you guys haven't seen them, you need to go over and take a look. I want to put a big one over here. And Terry let me know this morning she wasn't going to be able to join us today. All right, I waxed my thread and already I have an issue. Okay, granted it's old wax, but still. I cut my threads very, very long because, that's just a Susan thing. I do it that way all the time. I know I shouldn't. I can hear my grandmother's voice in my head, but old habits, right? And I'm, not wanting to go crazy with beads, but since I've already got beads on most of this, I have to get the rest of the way. They'd make cute paperweights. Yes. I just would like to get to the point where I can make a bunch of small things that don't take me, a month to finish. It would be nice to be able to build up some inventory, which, I have now because of course, Open Studios, while it would be nice to sell, I don't expect a lot of sales. I'm hoping just for a lot of feedback from people. And so I had to, have to make sure to remind myself that just because people are in here looking doesn't mean they're going to be buying because my stuff isn't cheap. But now I'll have some inventory and less pressure to do big. I'd like to work on one big one at a time rather than having so many at once. I think that's a habit that perhaps prepping for Open Studios has broken me of, this having 18 things going at once. So I'm hoping a lot of other people have dropped off their art by the time I get over there. They said from 9 to 6 today, and I won't get over there until about 3:30 or so because I'm anxious to see some of it. Since I'll have my studio open, I'm not going to be able to get around to visit all the other studios. Michelle said, yes, I'd like to see make some small projects. Yeah, there's several big ones I really want to do for a couple of exhibitions next year, but I'm trying to kind of think about how I want to manage the live streams. If I'm going to keep doing them, I need to figure out a way to make best use of my time here. There's a huge green project I want to work on, just kind of using all my bits and pieces. And I can work on that in small chunks, kind of thinking like clusters and crazy quilt squares and things. So that's what's happening over here. Like I said, they're doing the last 2 windows. They're going to pour cement for the stair pillars, I think next week. And then hopefully the deck is soon. And we got stucco and paint to come, but let me know what you guys are working on. Who is doing what? Sue, do you have a postcard you're working on or a prompt you're working from? Maybe somebody else will be inspired by a prompt. And who's doing any challenges right now? Michelle, I'm not like actively saying I'm going to stop the live, but I know that if I'm going to finish more projects in a timely manner, I need to not start something new every week when we have a live stream, which is kind of the habit I got into. I was just going to start something new. And so I need to think about how I want to manage it. And sometimes I wonder, do I want to keep doing it? But right now I still want to. As long as I'm still enjoying it, I'll keep doing the lives. And if I can manage my time better. Because I realized this prep for Open Studios would not have been nearly as stressful if I didn't have this bad habit of starting a new project every week. And it's not like when I was doing the Just Because books and I could just work a little bit on it every week. So it's, it's just the evolution of an artist. That's just the way it goes. Sue said, I made my postcard the other day. The post was Tolkien time. That was such a wide scope to choose from. Wow. When they're that broad of a theme, I think I would have a more difficult time, figuring out what to make. What did you make for Tolkien time? I certainly couldn't do any critters from the books. I maybe would do just a big patch of moss or something. I don't know. Sue said, I realized I'm not one to make representational art. If I can't find the image already existing, I won't be trying to make it. Me too. It's I want to evoke the feeling of a particular place, but there's no way that I'm trying to replicate a place. Michelle said, I went to a bigger hoop, but I always seem to finish fast. Then I'm always starting something new. Well, hats off to you for finishing, because that's the key, right? You know, what I would do is I would get to this point and then say, I don't know how I'm going to finish it off. And then I would put it aside. And that's not conducive to trying to get to the finish line. And so if I didn't have so many things getting, you know, that needed to get done in order to have the inventory, I might have had time to finish a few more big pieces. As it is, it'll probably be nice that I will have one of my huge 16 by 20 white pieces on the stand, you know, on the floor stand that I can be working on while people are here so they can see my process. And I will have a, I think I have a 16 by 16 wildscape that just needs a lot more French knots. So I'll have that on another floor stand. So it'll be good to have some things there where I can demonstrate and that sort of thing. Or I can just work if nobody shows up, because who knows? I have a knot already. Hey, Barbara. How is your Wednesday going? I cannot believe there's a knot already. This was very old wax, so I probably need to replace it. It was my husband's grandmother's in her sewing box because I couldn't find my thread magic. Sue said, I found a script in my print in my stash, and another print with inspirational words, and yet another with a large pen. I'm referencing Tolkien himself. There you go. Get back to chat here in just a minute. Let me get this knot undone. If I could remember where I put my thread magic, I would go get it and re-wax this. Barbara said, I love that piece you're working on. Thank you. I know this was a favorite of yours, and I am trying to get it done in time for Open Studios. This is a good time to remind you guys, if you are on the mailing list, I am going to do my very, very best to do a secret shop for you guys the day before. And I will just ask that I'm allowed to continue to, you know, if you buy anything, that I can display it until after Open Studios. I was also going to sell off my journals that I have bought over the years to help defray the cost of Open Studios, but I don't think I'm going to get those things posted. Ooh, Barbara's going to go get a massage. I'm so jealous. Sorry. I'm so jealous. That should be so good for what ails you. Even if nothing ails you, it should feel so good. Michelle said, I do put some stuff aside. I have about 60 small pieces I still need to put on cards. Yeah, doing the things on cards. And that's what I had hoped I was going to get, was some handmade cards done. And I just, you know, I had to keep taking the pressure off myself, because the more I was pushing myself to get too many things done, the less fun I was having working on the art. And you know how I feel about that. You have to be enjoying what you're working on, because that energy is going to come through the threads into the piece. And I did not want to have any negative energy in this stuff. Barbara said, you should be jealous. She is really good. She was my PT masseur and know how to get in there. Yeah, there's a recommendation for one here in town, and depending if Open Studios goes well, maybe I can reward myself. You know, it's $150 to go get a massage, though, so it's not in the budget right now. Sue said, you are not Superwoman, Susan. Yeah, thank you. I need that reminder every so often. And that's why I told myself, you know, it's okay if I don't finish these things. It's good for people to see things in progress. It's good for me to realize that I'm not Superwoman, and that I, you know, can come back to that later. And besides, I'm going to celebrate how many things I did get done. Oh, Michelle, she says, I think you are. Thank you. Barbara said, one of the good things about Eureka, it's about half of that, still a big chunk. Oh, that's marvelous, though. I'm glad you're going to be able to do that. Did we do any? Okay, didn't do that. I can see spaces where I missed out, but that's okay. The more I get on, the better. And we'll just deal with more later. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that massage was kind of offered through where I go. Well, I was going for PT. Now I go for workout time. But although he did, when he was working on my knees, there was some massaging going on, but nothing like having a full body massage. Wow. They are just great. Barbara said, I love the purple in there. I love the subtle colors. Yeah, I just really, this was playtime for me. And this was back when I was still working with floss. And I look at those bullions and I'm thinking, wow, I can't even imagine doing those now because I'm just not as much of a floss fan. Boy, I bet that's kind of a tongue twister, huh? Floss fan. Sue said, having finished that postcard, I'm sort of stuck in limbo. Oh, no. See, that's the thing with a bunch of small projects, too, is then it's like, okay, now what? Now what? Now what? And if you have a big project, something's always going on. But I think one big project at a time is good for me because as I'm finishing these things, I'm seeing how my techniques have evolved. And that's just been fascinating, actually. I'm rather proud of the way things have evolved. And some of the pieces like my purple piece, I took apart, I cut apart. I don't know if you guys saw that. And I cut it into 3 sections. And now I'm going to use 2 of the 3 sections because I figured out how to make it better. And I know a few years ago, I would not have been able, I wouldn't have done that. And I would not have been able to figure out what to do to fix it. So I'm happy to feel like I'm evolving as an artist. Barbara said, when I was doing it for PT, she just went really deeply into my neck and shoulders, which I could do now, but I really like having her work on my feet and hands. Nice. My back is so misaligned that it's just really nice to have anybody work on my back. And of course, help all the circulation and stuff. Sue said, I've got a couple of small projects in the works, but don't know what this next step is for either of them. I kind of want to start, I think, maybe after Open Studios, either go back to an existing doodle cloth or start a new doodle cloth and just try to go back to relieving the pressure. Just play, just because that's what happened with this, just playing with materials that I liked, colors I liked. And so I might do that. But I do think the first thing I'm going to probably do is see if I can do some small stones, I guess I'm calling them, from the Unearthed collection. I think what I want to change is the way I construct them rather than stitching the whole. So this started off on a hoop where I stitched all of this and then stitched the edges with my fluffy stuff. And then I have to sculpt it. So I still have the sculpting part done. Now what I want to do is take some of my muslin and create, like little mini pieces. I used to have one over here, but just like something that you could hold in your hand, do all the sculpting first, and then I can just lay my flat piece over it and attach it. So I want to try it with one and see if that works, because I think I might be able to get more of the shapes that I want. Michelle said, Barbara, the feet and calves feel great. It all does, actually. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who doesn't like a massage. I don't like the really, like this, I guess, is it the Swedish ones or some of the ones that get really, really deep and hard. I don't like that because I'm just really prone to making that really hurt me more. But I have so many weird aches and stuff now from working out that I'm never sure, okay, is that just because we did a different exercise, because she increased my weight? Is that something from the medicine I'm on? So as long as it's still bearable, I'm not going to worry about it. It's when my neck gets really bad that, then that affects me sleeping. And I like to get a good night's sleep. Hello to all you lurkers out there. I hope you guys are also having your hands busy doing neat artsy things. Joanne, how is your garden doing? You still have flowers or veggies? What have you got this time of year? I'm starting to plan for native plants that I would like to propagate, and some of the stuff that gets our best flowers that I would like to get some cuttings of from the lower yard and bring them out into the front yard where Tally isn't allowed to run free. And they might have a chance of surviving. Because if she's going after a lizard, she's jumping over everything, into everything. She jumps like a fox. She jumps like a rabbit. She jumps like a deer, kangaroo. Carol's been cooking. She says, I'm still here. Just finished making gluten-free chocolate chip cookie muffins. Yum. So it looks like you got quite a birthday haul when you went shopping for your birthday, Carol. Carol's someone I would say is superwoman. Man, is she productive. Wow. You seem to hit the finish line a lot. What's your favorite flowers? Oh, that's hard. I like all the native flowers. I like things that are going to bring in our bees and butterflies. But I also love, my favorite potted flower that I can't wait until the house is done so I can get my big pots out there and fill them with them are bright red geraniums. Absolutely love bright red geraniums and nasturtiums. And I think it's because they remind me of my grandmother's house. My grandmother always had bright red geraniums, and nasturtiums was the first flower I ever grew. In kindergarten, we had egg cartons, and we all grew our little nasturtiums, and my grandmother let me plant them in the yard. And so I just have a fond memory of those. Neither one of those, of course, is native, but that's okay. Joanne said, I'm disgusted with the vegetable garden, but I did harvest a bunch of green beans this week. We're in a drought, so I've been watering almost every day. Oh, wow. I just consider that we're always in a drought. So, yeah, water is precious. Carol said, yes, floss, watercolor pencils, Arches 300-pound paper, and more. It was fun. And tonight I get a Dairy Queen Blizzard. Wow. Carry that celebration on for a while. That's awesome. Sue said, I used to love a peanut butter parfait from Dairy Queen. I don't even know if even as a kid if I've ever been to a Dairy Queen. Foster Freeze and A&W root beer. Those were the two that were really popular where I grew up. There must have been a Dairy. I don't know. No, I don't recall even seeing a Dairy Queen somewhere. Isn't that interesting? I think that's almost universal. As a kid, though, there's no way I would have tried something like an odd combination like that. It would have had to have been chocolate milkshake. Let's see. Need some more little ones. So last week we had, not all the windows were replaced. And so we had window film put on the windows that we didn't replace. And they've got a slight tint to them like the new windows do. And it just makes the view look absolutely gorgeous. And it definitely has reduced the heat coming in through the kitchen where we had a really big issue. Carol said, yeah, I'm dairy and gluten free. But since Dairy Queen isn't milk, it doesn't react me. Oh, interesting. Sue said, I hadn't thought of that, Carol. Maybe that Dairy Queen ice cream isn't milk. Maybe I could have one rarely after all. Yeah, I didn't know Dairy Queen wasn't milk either, Joanne. It's probably just so processed. We're trying so hard to stay away from too many processed foods. Although I confess, Jif peanut butter is my afternoon snack. I just can't seem to get into any other peanut butter. I don't like cold peanut butter, and I don't like to have to mix up all the oils from the natural stuff, but I keep saying I should probably try and expand. Carol said, yes, I looked it up to check it out. McDonald's ice cream isn't milk either. So what is it if it's not milk? Haven't had a McDonald's in many, many years. Michelle said, I like Adam's no stir peanut butter. Does it have to go in the refrigerator, Michelle? Seems like all those natural ones have to go in the fridge. Yeah, probably worse than milk. Yeah. And I do drink a fair amount of milk. I don't need to have anything worse than milk. I wish I had more of this sari ribbon. I think I got rid of it all. It's funny looking at stuff that I started years ago and the materials I used and then decided, oh no, that wasn't for me. Now I'm looking at them in a different way. And so it tells me in the future, if I come across stuff like that, I'll have some new ideas on how to use it. Sue said, I use a natural almond butter. Doesn't seem to suffer from not being in the fridge. But do you have to stir it a whole bunch? So I like that smooth, creamy feeling. It's hard to find foods without both. Yeah. Michelle said, I always refrigerate. Not sure if it really needs it. I'll have to check that one out. I just, it doesn't taste the same when it's cold. I mean, unless you're going to, when I think back to Reese's peanut butter cups, and you have the peanut butter and chocolate, then I like those in the freezer. Those were always really good. You guys are making me hungry. I haven't had my lunch yet. I have to eat before I go work out. Sue said, yes, I have to reconstitute the oil into the almond stuff. Yeah. Joanne said, once I stir natural peanut butter, it's okay too. But doesn't it still taste cold? I know I'm picky. I'm not nearly as picky as I was 30 years ago. I will thank my husband for that. He has expanded my palate, and I always tell him I will try everything once. Joanne said, once I stir natural peanut butter, it's okay to store in the cabinet. Might get a little oil, but not as much as the first store. Ah. Well, I also just don't want it to go rancid, although I go through it, so. So, Joanne, will you have anything that blooms later in the year for you, or do you have to wait for spring again for more blooms? Well, cold because it's been in the refrigerator. That's what I was thinking of. I don't have to heat mine, no. But if I'm eating natural peanut butter that comes out of the refrigerator, isn't it going to be cold because it's been in the refrigerator? I wouldn't think stirring it is going to be. I mean, I just actually just take a spoonful of it and eat it like that. I'm not putting it on bread because I don't eat that much bread anymore. Now, when I was a kid, having a grilled peanut butter sandwich was an extra treat too. We'd have grilled cheese, and then we would also have grilled peanut butter, and we would have grilled Spam. Grandfather loved his grilled Spam sandwiches. That was one of his big lunches. Make sure I'm not putting too many more on in a different place. Joanne said, I have things that will bloom to the first frost. I don't plant fall stuff. I'm planting and collecting seeds for next spring now. Nice. I have this one plant that it's called a bladder pod. And it's got these beautiful yellow flowers that the hummingbirds love. And it keeps giving me lots of seeds, but no matter where I toss them in the yard, I don't know if the birds eat them or they just don't germinate. But I sure would love to have a few more of the plants, and nobody that I know is cultivating it anymore. It's a native thing. Sue said, what are you planning to use to back this long piece, and how will you attach it? I have some felt that's like a golden color. And so I am going to use some Misty fusible webbing to fuse it to the back, just to the edges, and then just hang a stick at the top. Nice and simple. I've got a collection of sticks to choose from. Philippa said, you guys have some unusual foods in the USA. I bet you have your share of unusual ones too, Philippa. Things that we wouldn't even think about eating or don't come in the stores and things around here. What are your favorite snack foods, Philippa? For those of you who don't know, Philippa's in New Zealand. Bluebells are very pretty. I would like to get some blue-eyed grass growing again. It has the most beautiful, it looks like little tiny miniature irises with these tiny blue flowers. And we had some native to the property when we moved in, and then I brought some over from our old yard, but the rabbits just chow down on it. Michelle said, lots of breaded chicken in the USA. See, I'm not a fan of that at all. A fried chicken, like a breaded chicken sandwich, does nothing for me. Give me a chicken breast. But I know that's really, really popular, but it's just not my thing. Chicken breast and barbecue sauce. Yes, please. Michelle said, I don't like it either. Yeah. Even when my grandmother would do fried chicken growing up, because of course that was a staple back in the 60s, it wasn't my favorite meal that she would do. And I mean, and I liked fried food. You know, we'd have fried catfish and other stuff, but okay, I'm just going to stop my needle there because I'll come back and deal with my loose threads because I was efficient. I have another needle threaded. Look at that. All right. Yeah, and I have to deal still with figuring out the prices and all my stuff. And I mean, that's just like the worst part of art making as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to figure out the prices. Philippa said, I'd love to try real Mexican food. We do have a lot of that good stuff here in California. And my husband's an excellent cook. So let me get, what's a typical like family meal in New Zealand, Philippa? Pricing and self-promotion. Yeah, that part's hard too. I've been like on my Instagram feed, the last couple posts, I've, mentioned Open Studios, my studio number, the date, the time, and it just, it's hard. I mean, you have to say it a whole bunch of times for it to click with people. And the Arts Council at least has hashtags that we can use so that people can, click through and hopefully. Oh man. Yeah, I have to toss this old wax. This is just not any good anymore. Catfish, they are not allowed here. Oh, wow. Yeah, we used to go fishing all the time and get the catfish. And besides having it fresh, then my grandmother would freeze it. We would have it throughout the year. Now I'm pleased with my postcards. I wish they were a little lighter. And then I made these other little tiny contact cards. So I can, I've got some more printed stuff that I want to do after I finish stuff. And I scheduled my COVID and flu shot for the end of this month. So I figure if I have all my art done by then, I can, sit and work on the computer on the, I don't know, like my story and a brochure and that kind of stuff. Philippa said, a lot of Chinese takeaways here. Oh, interesting. I would not have thought that. Or fish and chips. Michelle said, I like fried catfish sandwiches. There is a place in San Jose called Poorhouse Sandwiches. I have not been there, Michelle. Did not know of them when we were there. When I lived in Louisiana, there was a roadhouse up the street from where I worked, and they had the best fried catfish and hush puppies. We would have that almost every week for lunch once. Philippa said, at home, I think most do meat and 3 veg as our staple meals. Everything my grandmother fried was breaded in Bisquick first, right? Bisquick was her magic kitchen. Bisquick, pancakes, Bisquick, waffles, Bisquick, biscuits. Three veggies. I can't even get myself to eat one veg with a regular basis. Bye, Carol. Thanks for popping in. Have fun with all your new toys. What's a hush puppy? It's a fried potato, kind of like a tater tot. Barbara went MIA and she's back. Welcome back. Okay, at least I can see the finish line. I'm not going super fast, but my brain is on, the railroad track going 3 different directions at once. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to hang. I have 9 wildscapes that have to be hung in a very small area because I want to keep all the wildscapes in the first room you see when you come in the house. And every time I think I've got it figured out, and then I go in and measure something, or I look at what I have in the garage, it's like, no, that's not going to work. And I really don't want to have to buy anything if I can help it. Was that it? Was it cornbread? See, I can't even remember. You might be right. Cornbread and not potato. I blocked out an awful lot of my time there, except the food was good. Crawfish boil on Fridays. Really, really spicy. Good stuff. Maybe some sticks around what? The wildscapes on the wall that have to be hung, though. I mean, the ones that are just sitting flat, there's lots I can do with display, but I don't have wall space. So we need to figure out a way to invent some kind of a wall. I'm actually looking forward to, putting all the other stuff together, the display stuff together, but I think through this next week, I guess I have the next week to finish art. That's kind of what I feel like I'm at. And then I can start thinking, oh, the long piece, I'm just going to have one stick at the top. I'm going to back it with felt to protect all the stitching on the back side. And then there'll be one stick at the top that's hanging from it. I've got 3 or 4 sticks that I will audition when it's done. And then I have a blue piece that's done, but I have to put the back on that and a stick at the top of it. I had to let go of a few more pieces and say, nope, these guys aren't going to get done. And it's good. It's forcing me to simplify because I do think that I tend to go too far on a lot of pieces. It's hard to stop sometimes. It's and I think that comes from me not sketching anything out. I don't really have a plan. I'm playing. And that's another thing that filters into the live streams. If I'm coming to a live stream not thinking about what it is I'm going to do, I go in different directions, like I did with the purple piece, and then I had to cut it apart. So after Open Studios, I will have some thinking time to figure out what's happening next. Tanya, if you're back there lurking, hello. If you're not, maybe you're sleeping. But I know if you were here, you would be speaking up. But I'm calling you out in case you watch the replay. Same thing with you, Miss Sandy. Oh, it's getting hot in here. Since they've got the 2 old windows out, everything's open. And of course, it's a hot day. Michelle said, I like to add little stitch pieces and words. Yeah, I wish that I felt better about stitching words themselves. There's a gal on Instagram that does a lot. She actually stitches a whole paragraph of a poem, and I'm just in awe. I don't like any of the stitched words that I do, but I like the look of it when somebody else does it. The hot weather's miserable. Yeah, it's the AC's been running the last few days, and of course, when they have everything closed up, we'll have to turn it back on again. But as long as none of the bees or yellow jackets decide to come in the house, I can deal with it. Of course, I get to leave in a little bit, and I'll be in the car with the AC. Sue said, sketching isn't necessary. You work improvisationally. The trick is knowing when to stop. Yeah, and that is the trick. And I am still working on learning that trick. But I'm also giving myself grace more often than I used to. And again, I think having to finish these old projects where I had, gone farther than perhaps I needed to is really kind of helped train my brain to think the next time. And I think when I don't have, 15 projects that are waiting to be finished, and I'm still just working on maybe 3 or 4, I might have a little bit better control. Hello, Malaya. How are you? She says, I hate stitching words too. My words look like a toddler wrote it. Yes, and you can't ever read my words if I stitch them. I thought I would do that as my signature on pieces. Oh, heck no, not with my long name. How are your girls doing with the Girl Scouts and all that good stuff? Did you get enough names for them? I know you were looking for them to have names, because if not, you can certainly add my name to the list. I meant to do it, and then I think the phone rang and I didn't get it added in there. Barbara said, I've got a page of words I like to use on cards and things. I'm thinking I'll print out a sheet on fabric and then spatter it with coffee. Yes. Yeah, and I could never print on my laser printer. I never was able to get the fabric to print. So I think, yeah, that ship has sailed for me. And that's okay. Then I can use the words on my crazy squares. Yes. Decided to make prayer flags out of the something. Malaya said, yes, I got enough. Thank you. They are doing wonderful. I'm one lucky mama. I love the picture of the car that is finally running. That car is amazing. I love seeing that. And your daughter's smiling face in there. It was great. Oh, look at that. It's another knot. What a surprise. I love that you say you're a lucky mama. That's great. But I'm looking at some of these variegated threads that I had used on this, and it's like, oh wow, I need to go back and use that on something else. Oh, prayer flags out of the crazy squares. You guys aren't making a quilt? Prayer flags would be beautiful. Crazy quilt prayer flags, yes. Malaya said, yes, getting the tea up and running has been a long process, but she's so happy now that it's done. I bet. I mean, how cool to have that as a project, though, to be working on. I mean, not many girls want to do something like that. Well, I was hopeful that I would be faster at this today, but it will be done by the time I'm here next week because I need to get it finished. I've got the white pieces that I have to stitch to their canvases now. Barbara said, no, no quilt. We figured it would be too fragile with all the embroidery on it. Some of it is really loose. Ah, that's a good thought. Michelle said, you can always rubber stamp words on fabric, then cut them out and stitch or glue them onto something else. Yeah, I didn't want the rubber stamp look on my stuff. I did that on a few things in a couple of old journals. And just as, as my artistic journey has evolved, I am letting go of things that don't seem authentically me and saying, it's okay. I will admire other people doing those things, and I'm going to do something else that's me. Will you hang the prayer flags in your house, or will they be an outdoor? I guess if they've got all your embroidery on it, they'll have to be a house thing. Someday I want to stitch something that I can hang from the slider door in the studio. Many much things on my someday list. Like everyone, we got to pick and choose where we're going to put our energies. I think I'm putting more little beads here than I was other places. I'll have to go back over it again, but this is a good TV project. You don't have to concentrate too much. Yep, that's it, Michelle. We have to put the ideas out there because we never know when it's exactly what somebody else needs to hear. I'm starting to think how I want to sculpt something big. I mean, I want to do something that's like 3 feet tall and different, really, really different look. Not just like, vertical like this. I want to sculpt it into something. And so trying to think about how I might do something like that. Sue said, I've avoided stamping on fabric due to my chemical sensitivities, but I wonder if archival ink would be okay. Something to try. You could also always on the computer put together the words and phrases and things you want and send it to Spoonflower and just print, a yard of fabric. You'd have it for a long time. That's always what I was going to do. I was going to print my eco prints and some other stuff at Spoonflower. And then I went in a different direction. Barbara said, yeah, we've got a central beam in our house, so lots of places to tack up a length of string, making them removable so we can change the array. Oh, good idea. Yeah, Sue, duh, of course. Michelle said that would be interesting, a sculptured large piece. Yeah, I think I would do it probably in sections. And on one hand, there's a red and white piece that I want to do that might work well like that. But then I also am wondering about how I might do a wildscape where the bottom would be the browns for the ground and you would have the roots coming out, and then you would go up with the greens. So I don't know, letting all that stuff just sort of throw around. Yeah, if you have an inkjet printer, you can use the fabric sheets. I never had an inkjet printer to do that on. When I had an inkjet printer when I was writing, and then I got a laser printer, and we never want to take a chance on anything happening with the laser printer. I know there are people that do it with the freezer paper and stuff, but I just didn't, it's too expensive to have something like that happen. See, I cannot do the less is more thing. All right, I need to really throw that other wax away. It's too bad because I like the little container it was in, but it's almost like there's no wax on. And I'm sure it's ancient and dried up. Just because I could slide the thread through the wax and I saw a little stuff come off, it doesn't necessarily mean that it was still good. Oh, the guys went to lunch. That was nice of them to go to lunch now. Now that I was all set up with background music, but at least now I have a longer song uploaded in the future should I need it for background music. Told me last week they're hoping to be done by Thanksgiving. I was hoping it would be sooner, but it is what it is. I'm going to have to hang this on the wall to see where I might need more. I can't believe once upon a time I was thinking about putting a bead at the end of every one of these stitches. Yeah, no way. This is a hard one to photograph because it's so long. I mean, 4 feet. You can't get all, I mean, you can get it at a distance, but you're not going to see everything. So I don't know. I might hop off of here a few minutes early so that I can grab something to eat before I have to take off. I usually try to eat before I come on, but I didn't have time today. Sue said, I have the same issue trying to photograph my scrolls. Yeah, I mean, by the time you get back far enough to get the whole thing in the picture, it's so tiny. And then you have to like do a bunch, cut it up into sections to really get it. But I might do another one of these. Maybe I'll do a doodle cloth that's scroll like, but I won't do it quite so long. I think maybe at about a foot long. I like things hanging vertically. I've got a lot of narrow spaces in the studio. So if I did some more of these, they could hang around. Joanne says, saying goodbye early because my lag is so bad, but I'm still here. Yeah, and I know my internet is slower than it usually is, so there's issues with that too. But I will say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And there's only this little bit left to go. So there's that much left to add the beads to, but then I need to have another look because I can see I got a lot on here and I was a little stingier up here. So, oh, and here's a section I missed this whole side. So there's a lot more to do than I realized. This will be a TV project for a while. Thank you all for being here. I will see you again next week. If you had a good time, please leave me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.